What's going on, everybody? Nick here, and welcome to another video, drum set for non-majors week 4, COVID edition. This video is for the students that are a part of my drum set for non-majors course at the University of the Arts. But if you've come across this video via social media, hopefully you get something out of it. So last week you started to learn about 16th note subdivision rock grooves rather than 8th note subdivision rock grooves. You played through basic rock groove number 1, which means your kick drum is on beats 1 and 3, your snare drum is on 2 and 4. But instead of playing a steady 8th note on the hi-hat, you were playing 16th notes instead. You started out by playing with both hands and bringing the right hand down to the snare drum on beats 2 and 4. And then you had the opportunity to play just steady 16th notes on the hi-hat with one hand while you played a backbeat on 2 and 4. So for this week, what you're going to do is you are going to continue on playing 16th notes on the hi-hat. You're going to continue to play the snare drum on beats 2 and 4. The difference this time is that you are going to focus on groove number 2 from your rock sheet. That means that your bass drum is being played on all 4 beats. So if we were to break this down beat by beat, that means that for beat number 1, you have right foot and right hand on the hi-hat, and then the other 3 notes on the hi-hat by itself. 1, E, and A. For beat number 2, you are now playing the bass drum and the snare drum together, and then the rest of that beat is on the hi-hat. 2, E, and A. Beat 3 is just like beat 1, so it's bass drum and hi-hat for the downbeat, and then the rest is on the hi-hat by itself. 3, E, and A. And beat 4 is just like beat 2, so it's bass drum and snare drum, and then the rest is on the hi-hat. 4, E, and A. Here's what it sounds like when you put it all together. So now with this exercise, I want you to focus on playing the hi-hat with 2 hands. The reason why is because when we start to dive in a little bit further, we're going to work on something that is going to require you to play it with 2 hands. Now that you have that down, let's change it up just a little bit. So for this groove, what you are going to do is play the hi-hat on the and of each beat. So that means for beat number 1, you're hitting the kick drum by itself, and then you're playing a right and a left hand on the end of beat 1. So that means bass drum, 16th note rest, right, left. 1 and A. For beat number 2, you are playing your right hand and your right foot together. Again, a 16th note rest on the E, and then the and is on the hi-hat. 2 and A. Beat number 3 is just like beat number 1. So you have kick drum on beat 3, hi-hat is on and A. 3 and A. And of course, beat number 4 is just like beat number 2. So you have 4 and A. Here's what it sounds like when you put it all together. So although you are still playing in this 16th note subdivision, you are not playing a 16th note on every subdivision. Notice by doing that, it changes up the vibe of the groove a little bit. So to get a little bit more comfortable with this, try this as an exercise. So for the first 2 measures, you're going to play that first iteration. That's where you're playing all the 16th notes on the hi-hat, bringing the right hand down on beats 2 and 4. You are still playing that kick drum on all 4 beats. After doing that for 2 measures, switch to that second iteration, where you're only playing the hi-hat on the end of each beat. Here's what it sounds like when you put it together. Now that you had that opportunity to play through both iterations, this is a perfect time in the video to pause and work on anything we've gone over so far. If you need to, you can go back in the video a little bit and watch those examples and check it out. But I'm pretty sure all of you are going to get this pretty quickly. So if you need to, pause the video here, and when you're ready to resume, hit continue. So now that you have gone through both of those iterations, let's take the straight 16th note groove one step further. We're going to see if we can accent the on the hi-hat. So the groove stays the same. Your kick drum is still on all 4 beats. Your right hand is still coming down to your snare drum on beats 2 and 4. You are continuing to play straight 16th notes on the hi-hat. The difference this time is you're going to try and accent the of each beat. That just means that you're going to play that a little bit louder than the other notes on the hi-hat. Here's what it sounds like. Notice with that one little change, we are changing the vibe of the groove. Not that it's better or worse, just different. So this time around, see if you can play the first iteration, straight 16th notes, no accents. Still playing that snare on 2 and 4, still playing the bass drum on all 4 beats. After those 2 measures, switch over to see if you can play accenting the Once you do that, go back to the straight 16th notes with no accents. Then wrap up with playing the hi-hat on just the end. Here's what that entire exercise sounds like together. So playing through this exercise is giving you the chance to hear the differences between those 3 iterations. End of the day, you are still playing 16th notes, you still have a backbeat on 2 and 4, and your kick drum is still being played on all 4 beats. But again, just those subtle changes just changes the vibe of the groove. So now that we have done that with groove number 2, experiment a little bit. Take a look at your rock sheet or play any groove that you're comfortable with and try those different variations of it. Play just straight 16th notes, try accenting the on those 16th notes, or just play the end on the hi-hat. Here's how some of those iterations sound with some of the grooves that you covered last week. Okay, now it's time for groove identification. Although this week it's a little bit more about just listening to a tune and locking into the groove. So for this week, the song is called Hush Hush. It is by the band Camino. No, that's the name of the band. The band Camino. You're going to notice that during the choruses, the drummer is playing one of those iterations that we went over at the beginning of the lesson. Then for the verses, you're going to hear that he changes up to a different iteration. So listen to the tune, see how all of these iterations play into one another, and see if you can identify when each one is being played. Also, don't be alarmed if he adds additional accents to one of those iterations. So to recap, you are continuing what we learned last week, which are basic rock grooves in a 16th note subdivision. The difference this time is that you are playing the bass drum on all 4 beats. You played those grooves where all 16th notes are played on the hi-hat. You played those grooves where all 16th notes are on the hi-hat and you accented the and you played the groove where the hi-hat is only on the end. So if you are one of my students in the course, feel free to upload a video of you playing through those first 3 iterations. And if you are not one of my students, but you came across this on social media, upload a video to your Instagram, tag me in it, and I would love to see your progress. And that is it. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Hopefully you've learned something from it. And until next time, see you later.